A scramble for discounted movie tickets as part of the Happy Hong Kong campaign. 2 Hong Kong people among those evacuated from Sudan on a PLA warship. And a new U.S.-South Korean plan to counter North Korea's nuclear threat. Hello and welcome to TVB News. As part of the Happy Hong Kong campaign, residents can watch films in cinemas at a fixed discounted price of $30 per ticket on Saturday. While the tickets are only available to buy after 11 a.m. today, many residents arrived early at these cinemas. Mimosa Ngai was at a cinema this morning.
This was the scene at a cinema in Mong Kok. And this was a cinema at Entertainment Building in Central. All these people shared one desire, to get $30 tickets for their chosen films on Saturday. Each person can buy a maximum of 4 tickets. To lift up the mood of local residents and to boost local consumption, the government created the Happy Hong Kong campaign with Cinema Day, offering slashed-down ticket prices to filmgoers. Many residents are happy about the event.
We want to support the Hong Kong government and some benefit for Hong Kong people, not only for the traveller, for local Hong Kong people. I feel very excited this one, and then have the time to enjoy the film with my husband.
She added she hopes to get tickets for a local film, Lost Love.
I want to get some very happy and not very sad one, but I would like to support Sammy.
Meanwhile, the huge demand for tickets led to some disappointments. This man could not watch his desired film as tickets were sold out. Residents could also buy tickets online, but that's a big challenge. On the Emperor Cinema's website, it showed the waiting time to proceed to the cinema webpage was 3,621 minutes, around 60 hours. There were system crashes on some cinema websites. Meanwhile, some people are suspected of reselling their tickets on some online trading platforms. Lawyer and Electrical member Eunice Yeung criticized the act, saying both ticket resellers and ticket buyers could face legal consequences.
While the Cinema Day is the first event of the Happy Hong Kong campaign, there will also be a large-scale food gourmet market in Wan Chai this weekend. Mimosa Ngai, TVB News.
The Development Bureau has announced findings from a public consultation regarding the Kauai Chao Artificial Islands project. Around 60% of the views received by the government support the project, while 20% oppose it. The Bureau plans to start an environmental impact assessment within this year. Veronica Lin with more.
The Kauai Chao project consists of 3 artificial islands to be built on reclaimed land, accommodating a population of up to 550,000. Authorities launched a public consultation last December and received around 7,800 views from the public. Those who support the project believe it would help increase land supply and improve the strategic transportation network. Those who are against the project are concerned about its impact on the surrounding ecosystem as well as public finances. The Bureau said it felt encouraged by the public support and stressed that the artificial islands form an important part of Hong Kong's future land supply. Secretary for Development Bernadette Lin said Hong Kong must have sufficient land, which will enable innovations in policy. She added that the focus shouldn't be on whether to do it or not, but how to do it well. The authorities enlisted 6 professional associations to create a platform to discuss in detail the artificial island's design sustainability and its planning arrangements. Lin said the government plans to start an environmental impact assessment in the 4th quarter of this year, as well as detailed land surveying next year, before coming up with a budget estimate. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
Japan will reportedly end all COVID border measures for incoming travelers on Saturday, about a week earlier than expected. Japan earlier said COVID measures would end by May 8th, but the date is being brought forward to this Saturday as the country celebrates its week-long Golden Week holiday. Local media said the move is expected to prevent too many people lining up at airports. Currently, all inbound travelers are required to present certification of 3 COVID jabs, and authorities also conduct random tests at airports on arrivals from the Chinese mainland. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization's chief said the virus causing COVID-19 is here to stay, but the world is beginning to transition out of the emergency phase of the pandemic. The WHO will publish a guide for countries next week on how to move from an emergency response to the long-term management of COVID-19.
We remain hopeful that sometime this year, we will be able to declare an end to COVID-19 as a public health emergency of international concern. But this virus is here to stay, and all countries will need to learn to manage it alongside other infectious diseases.
2 Hong Kong residents have been evacuated from Sudan on a warship. They are among hundreds of people from China and thousands from around the globe who had help fleeing the fighting in the East African country. Refugees have spoken of frightening experiences and dangerous journeys. David Garrett reports.
Buses and boats to the rescue. This convoy of coaches is leading Chinese citizens to safety. More than 1,000, including Hong Kong residents, were evacuated on a warship of the People's Liberation Army. They left from Port Sudan on the Red Sea in the east of Sudan. Some people had to travel over the desert for 15 hours. It is the 3rd time China has deployed the military to rescue civilians overseas. It happened in 2011 in Libya and 4 years later in Yemen. China says most nationals have now been evacuated. These people have packed their bags and headed for the border. A little north of where the Chinese warship had docked, refugees are flooding into Egypt, which borders Sudan to the north. People told officials they had no choice but to grab belongings and go.
The last time in Sudan, there was a big war going on. The 2 forces were shooting one another, and it became very unsafe. And there was no more food, electricity. So it became very, very bad, and we had to flee.
These Sudanese have headed west and found a refugee camp. They spoke of armed men coming to their house and indiscriminate violence. A woman says she picked up her children and left. She rode a donkey across the sand. As many as 20,000 Sudanese are thought to have fled to Chad. Some evacuees have already made it home. These British nationals are back in the UK. Elsewhere in Europe, France has evacuated nearly 1,000 people, Germany and the Netherlands several hundred each. UK could have as many as 4,000 in Sudan, and some are still there.
It's quite horrific going through being shot, being intimidated. It wasn't easy, but we got through, thank you. It's difficult to say how stomach-churning it was.
A similar scene elsewhere. This Indian was able to touch home soil again. His colleagues chanted in celebration as they walked through the airport.
It was very bad, and at times there was this, we were thinking that this is it, we are going to die.
In Sudan, gas and electricity supplies are dwindling fast. The WHO says health facilities are operating at less than 20%. A 72-hour ceasefire has made some impact, but there are still reports of shelling, with families caught in the middle. David Garrett, TVB News.
The presidents of the United States and Korea unveiled a new plan Wednesday to counter North Korea's nuclear threat amid anxiety over Pyongyang's growing arsenal of missiles and bombs. This as South Korean leader Yoon Suk-yeol is on a state visit to the U.S. to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the two countries' alliance. Tracy Furness has more.
Declaring the American-South Korean alliance ironclad, U.S. President Joe Biden welcomed his South Korean counterpart, Yoon Suk-yeol, to the White House Wednesday for an official visit.
This year marks the 70th anniversary of the alliance between our two nations. It's an unbreakable bond, forged in bravery and the sacrifice of our people. sanctified by the blood of American and Korean troops who fought and defended liberty.
The South Korean president agreed, saying the alliance between the two countries was an alliance of values standing together to safeguard the universal value of freedom. This, as North Korea has escalated its nuclear arsenal of missiles and bombs. The US pledged to give South Korea more insight into its nuclear planning. Seoul renewed its pledge not to pursue a nuclear bomb of its own. While the first time since the 1980s, a US Navy nuclear-armed ballistic missile submarine will visit South Korea to help demonstrate Washington's resolve to protect the country from any North Korean attack. At a joint news conference in the White House Rose Garden, Yoon announced some key deterrents against North Korea's growing nuclear aggression. We have launched a nuclear consultative group where we will share information on mutual nuclear assets and intelligence, and we will jointly plan responses and plan exercises and drills, Yoon said.
A nuclear attack by North Korea against the United States or its allies or partisans or partners is unacceptable and will result in the end of whatever regime were to take such an action.
Talks also turned to the economy, with Biden defending the administration's CHIPS and Science Act in efforts to promote the U.S. semiconductor industry, insisting the moves were designed to boost the U.S. economy, not to hurt China.
We have an enormous investment in the United States, well over $200 billion in long-term investment in semiconductors. And we're rebuilding the economy of the United States with those semiconductors. It's not designed to hurt China.
The day ended with a black-tie dinner at the White House with celebrity guests such as Angelina Jolie and politicians in attendance, with Broadway star Lea Salonga providing the entertainment. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
U.S. President Joe Biden suggested on Wednesday that he could defeat Donald Trump again in a 2024 rematch. He also warned that the former Republican president is a threat to the country. With regard to the polling data, Biden said being between 42 and 46% is a favorable rating, and everyone running for re-election at this time has been in the same position. If re-elected, Biden will be 86 at the end of his second term. He said he feels good and excited about the prospects of running.
And with regard to age, I can't even say, I guess how old I am, I can't even say the number. It doesn't register with me. And but the only thing I can say is that one of the things that people are going to find out, they're going to see a race, and they're going to judge whether or not I have it or don't have it. I respect them taking a hard look at it. I take a hard look at it as well. I took a hard look at it before I decided to run. And I feel good. I feel excited about the prospects. And I think we're on the verge of really turning the corner in a way we haven't in a long time.
Welcome back. Police arrested a man in connection with a fatal scuffle on Chao this morning. The arrest was made following a 2-hour manhunt. Initial investigations suggest the fight broke out due to money disputes.
This video captured the scuffle which allegedly led to the death of a 52-year-old man. Two men appear to have shoved each other while holding a bicycle chain lock. The man in an orange shirt was then carried away on a stretcher. Police received a report about the brawl on Tai San Back Street in Chao at around 11 a.m. Subsequently, the 52-year-old man was rushed to St. John Hospital on the island after falling unconscious. He was pronounced dead after resuscitation attempts failed. A manhunt ensued. Officers managed to track down the suspected assailant in around 2 hours. The 43-year-old suspect was located on one of the island's main streets. The owner of a shop nearby said the fisticuffs lasted some 15 minutes and there were passers-by trying to stop the brawl. Speaking to the press, the police said the suspect and the deceased knew each other, both residents in Chao and both believed to be triad members. Police said it's likely the fight broke out due to money disputes and the victim's death is believed to have been caused by the assault. More investigations are underway. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
An investigation by the Office of the Ombudsman has found the supply of Onstreet parking spaces designated for the disabled seriously fell short of demand, and many of these parking spaces were abused by other drivers. The Ombudsman has urged the Transport Department to make improvements. There are some 520 parking spaces in Hong Kong designated for those with disabled persons parking permit. In 2021, the arrangement was expanded to include those with limited mobility in their lower body, as long as they have a certificate. As of November last year, more than 4,400 people were eligible. The Ombudsman said the demand far exceeded supply and that certain accessible parking spaces were abused or misused, including use by vehicles not involved with people with disabilities. The Ombudsman said punishments are not enough of a deterrent and recommended a comprehensive review of the issue. Argentina is searching to maintain a reserve of dollars, announcing Wednesday it would stop using the U.S. currency to pay imports from China and instead will use the yuan. Strict controls set by the government mean that access to official foreign exchange market is extremely limited, so parallel rates have flourished. The cost of the illegal dollar rate in Argentina has increased by almost a fifth since last week, standing at 475 pesos per dollar Wednesday. Analysts say the rapid depreciation of the peso is in part due to high monthly inflation of 7.7 in March, which took the annual rate to a whopping 104%. The mainland's Labor Day Golden Week holiday starts this Saturday. Hong Kong's Travel Industry Council estimates that around 600,000 mainlanders will visit the city. It marks the first Golden Week holiday after the border between Hong Kong and the mainland reopened earlier this year. An estimated 200 million people will cross the country and go on vacation. 600,000 of them are expected to visit Hong Kong, and 80% will be traveling in their individual capacity. The Immigration Department predicts that Hong Kong will see the peak number of travelers on May 1st, with more than 420,000 people coming to the city. The Tourism Commission has held meetings with various parties concerned to strengthen manpower at border checkpoints and coordinate immigration and transport services. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.